watching News 8 at 9. Good morning, Texas. Thanks a lot for joining us. It was the 1960s, the decade of change, wild change. The Beatles were busy transforming music, and artist Peter Max was doing the same for art.
His psychedelic colors and bold lines defined a generation. 40 years later, his art continues to evoke such strong emotions.
Yes, Peter is standing by now at the Florence Art Gallery in Dallas. Good morning to you, Peter.
Hey, good morning.
It really is nice to have you on the show.
It's nice to paint a Pegasus in Dallas because I hear that Dallas soars.
Yes, Dallas soars. We're going to get you to talk about that event in just a second, but let's talk about your past work. It's some of the most recognizable, I'm sure, in the world. You've painted Woodstock, you've done Super Bowls, the World Cup, you've painted all the celebrities. Talk about how you got started. When did you begin painting?
You know, I started like an average art student. I went to an art school and I painted realism like Bouguereau, like Velasquez, John Singer Sargent. But then when I came out and the 60s were blooming and the Beatles were happening, I knew that my art style had to not be realism, it had to be individual. And so my art style changed. And the next thing I knew, I was in the cover of Life magazine and Time, and it just went that way for the next 25 years, 30 years.
You're so versatile. You can even find your artwork like on the side of a Continental Airlines plane. What inspires you?
Different things inspire me. I mean, the Continental plane, I got to meet Gordon Bethune, this amazing chairman of Continental, who, you know, turned this airline around, and he was in my studio giving a talk. And I brought him into a room and I said, Mr. Bethune, with this airplane, could it possibly ever fly? And he said, yes, it can. And of course, I got one of my guys in the studio to visit you know, Texas a lot and see him, and the next thing I knew, we painted it at Boeing Aircraft. Wow. A big Continental plane. It's, you know, it's as big as a 747. And now I'm painting the Pegasus here for the Dallas Soar promotion. It's a wonderful thing. It's very much in keeping with what has been happening around the country now. When I painted the cows in New York, they were done in Chicago, and people love it to have you know, a famous animal painted by local artists, and to have these things displayed in front of restaurants and buildings. And people always would ask, like, you know, what's with the cows or what's with the Pegasus? Why is this happening? But the juxtaposition of having an animal like this with these beautiful wings, and by the way, the artist who did this did an amazing job. It's probably one of the nicest things I've seen yet around the country. So Dallas should be very, very proud. It's a beautiful animal, and the world is going to become very, very familiar with the Dallas Pegasus. Right. Everywhere in the world, people will know that the Pegasus was created in Dallas, and you kind of own it.
So these Pegasuses, Pegasi, I don't know what the plural is.
Pegasi is the best I came up with myself.
So people, groups of people, businesses, corporations, whatever, can get together, buy their own statue and then paint it creatively themselves? Is that how it works?
Yeah, they can probably get this Pegasus for a few $1,000s, have it painted, and then they can put it in front of their restaurant, and before you will know, Dallas will be having these Pegasus in every conceivable color by all the famous artists in Dallas, and I'll be glad to do a few myself. That's why I'm here. I'm doing a few.
Well,
and then, by the way, it gets auctioned off, and the money will go to the arts program, I hear.
Right.
That's an excellent program. We also want to talk about some of your paintings in the gallery. You have more than 100 of them. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, well, this is my second or third year here with Florence Gallery. They're a fantastic gallery, and, you know, I have wonderful works here, famous icon pieces, the flowers. I've got, you know, the Statue of Liberty, the Angels with Heart, and brand new things that no one's ever seen before. And I travel, I have a few shows a year, and Florence Gallery is really a fantastic gallery. In fact, one of the very few galleries that are outside New York that people talk about is Florence Gallery.
Hey, that's great.
And so, you know, you should all be proud of having that here, too.
We've got a picture of one of your paintings called Love, I believe, and we're showing that right now. Very kind of, you can see that 60s psychedelia influence there. Talk a little bit about it.
Well, the Love piece was done during the time when the Beatles were doing All You Need Is Love, and one day I was in Chinatown when I made this little drawing. I was inspired. The Beatles had just come to America, and then with a little marker I drew this drawing called Love, and then I made a poster of it, and then I made another poster, and suddenly in 9 months, I sold 7 million posters. That was my first success. I was so shocked. I used to call my mother up and just tell her, and she would say, oh, it's okay even if you sold a couple of thousand. But she, you know, in the beginning, she thought I was just exaggerating, but I sold 7 million posters during the 60s period. And just to show you that America loves art, people love art, they love culture, and America is the cultural center of planet Earth. It used to be Paris and Italy, you know, for many years, but America is the cultural center of planet Earth. It has been that way since before the pop art movement.
And in talking about planet Earth, tell us about I Love the World.
I Love the World is a very famous painting. I made that drawing when I was backstage at Live Aid. You know, when America being so extremely generous to the rest of the world, and I was backstage with Madonna and all the musicians, and then they were called up front to sing We Are the World. You remember that song?
Yes, absolutely.
And I was left behind. All my friends were up front singing. I took out my pen and I drew an angel hugging the world. And then just a few days ago at the Oscars, Julie Roberts said she loves the world, so I just sent her this picture.
Oh,
She's
really?
gonna be
So it was
getting
became
actually
a gift to her.
Yeah.
So how come they didn't ask you out on stage to sing with them?
Well, you know, because I didn't rehearse the tune, you know.
You have other talents, and we're watching them now, obviously. Max, it's been great to talk to you.
Thank you. Thanks so
good luck.
much. Hope to see you at the Florence Gallery. Really, it's a beautiful show. My sweet lady here, Ada Lau, my assistant, put this amazing show together. You got to see it.
All right, and thanks very much for your participation in Dallas Soars, too. We know that's going to do a lot of good.
Yes.
All right, Peter Max. Interesting guy. Great paintings.
Great paintings. He was born in Berlin, and you can find some of his work. Even Gorbachev has it, and in Russia, and he's just world-renowned.
Yep.
And it's amazing to have him here in Dallas. If you get a chance to participate in Dallas Soars and go check out